morning, students. This is Anjali, Assistant Professor, Department of CAC, AIML, IARE, Hyderabad. Today's our topic is presentation strategies. In previous class, we have seen 7 C's of communication, then importance of verbal communication and the communication process. The 7 C's of communication, it's contain the clear, consideration, then clarity, courteous, complete. Then importance of verbal communication. Verbal communication is very important in our day-to-day life. It will help to think. It will help to improve ourselves. Then it will help to analyze the data. Then after that we have seen that the communication process contain the components some sender, receiver, and encoding. Sender will send the message which is very understandable, which should be very understandable for the receiver. Then receiver will receive the message, whatever sender has sent. Then after that encoding, that means whatever sender will send the data, it will convert into some of the code. That means the third person should not access your data, and that receiver can receive the particular correct data which has already sent by the sender. So these things we have covered in previous classes. Today we will start the strategies of the presentation. So contents are the data presentation, how to present data, and the why, how, what strategy of the presenting. Now what is meant by data presentation? The data presentation is a process of comparing 2 or more data sets with visual aids such as graphs. Using a graph, you can represent how the information relates to other data. This process allows data analysis and helps organize the information by visualizing and putting it into a more readable format. This process is useful in nearly every industry as it helps professionals share their findings after performing data analysis. Actually, the data presentation is just the process of comparing 2 or more data sets by using some visualization, or we can say that by using the graphs. Then if you are using the graphs, that means whatever you have a data, you can represent how the information can be related with the other data. And this follows the analysis, and it will help to organize your information by putting it in the readable format properly. So this process is very important in every industry, and the industrialist will follow all this information. So there are different types of the data presentation. First one is the textual. When presenting data in this way, generally you use words for describing the relationship between the information. Textual means just we can say that the words. That means if you want to present the data in the form of the textual, so here it is very easy to describe your relationship of the information. Then textual information enables researchers to share the information that cannot display on a graph. For example, data you may present textually is findings in a study. When researcher wants to provide additional context or explanation in their presentation, they may choose this format because in text, information may appear more clear. Whenever some of the researcher wants to provide any data or any explanation for their presentation. So at that time there is need to choose the particular format, because in text generally information may appear more clear, and textual information is common for sharing research and presenting new ideas. It only includes paragraphs and words, or rather than tables or graphs to show the data. So whenever you are using the textual data, at that time you can show the data in the form of the graphs, you can show in the form of the words, even you can use tables or graphs. Then next one is that tabular. The tabular presentation is using a table to share large amount of information, and when using this method you organize data in rows and columns according to the characteristics of the data. Actually, tabular representation will use the tables for sharing amount of data, and when you are using this method for organizing the data, you have to organize the data in the form of rows and the columns. And tabular presentation is useful in comparing data, and it helps visualize the information. Researchers use this type of the presentation in analysis such as qualitative classification, quantitative classification, then spatial classification and temporal classification. The qualitative classification, it will include the qualities like nationality, age, social status, then appearance, personality traits may appear in that form of the table for viewing and comparing the sociological and psychological information. Then quantitative classification. The category includes items you can count or number. Then spatial classification. This applies to situation where information uses basis of location such as data on a city, state or region. Then temporal classification. Time is variable in this category. So any measure of time including seconds, hours, days or weeks may help classify the data. That means qualitative classification will include the qualities, quantitative classification will include the count or number, then spatial classification will include the situation, and temporal classification will include the type. The benefits of using table to share your data are that it simplifies the data, making it easily consumable to reviewers, and it will help provide a side-by-side comparison of the variable you choose, and it can save space in your presentation because a table condenses the information. Now next one is that the diagrammatic. This method of displaying the data uses diagram and images. It is the most visual type for presenting the data and provides a quick glance at statistical data. So there are 4 basic types of the diagrams. That means if you are using diagrammatic, that means you can show the data in the form of the diagram and the images. So there are first one, pictograms. This diagram uses images to represent the data. For example, to show number of books sold in the first release week, and you may draw 5 books where each image accounts for 1000 books and consumes bought 5000 books. So this data you can show in the pictograms. Then second one is the cartograms. This includes any type of map that share the location of person, place or the object. For example, cartograms help navigate theme parks so you can find attractions, food and gift shops. Then next one is the bar graphs. This type of graphs uses the rectangles of different size on x and y axis to represent different amount in a data sets. So it depicts the numerical values and uses rectangles to display data for variables in your researches. Cartograms show, you will show the data in the form of the different type of the map. Then bar graph, you will show the data in the form of the rectangles which are available on the x-axis and the y-axis. Then next one is the pie chart. In this type of diagram, data appears as a fraction in a circle. This displays any type of numerical data but works well with the fewer variables. Since they are more visual than the other methods of presenting the data, diagrams can share more information about the relationships between variables in the dataset. For example, bar graph can show data by color, size of the rectangle, and use more advanced bar graph to share data from the multiple variables over a time. The diagrammatic presentation also helps data quickly and provides an easy comparison. So pie chart, we will show the data in the form of the circle and it will very easy to visualize the information. Then how to present the data? There are some steps you can take to create the presentation. First step is organize your data. Once your research is complete, analyze and categorize your data. After collecting the data, first job is that to analyze your data and to categorize your data. This can include making conclusion and recognizing the relationships between the data points. After analyzing and categorizing your data, it is very easy to reach your conclusion and easy to recognize the relationship between the data points. And you might organize your data by qualities, quantities, time or space. And you can organize your data on the basis of the qualities, quantities, time or space. Then putting the data you collect into categories based on its most identifiable feature is useful in helping you determine how to best present the data. And organization also helps compare the data and make important conclusions or to answer your research questions. Now, for example, if your research is to determine which day of the week is most productive and you survey a group of the professionals, then you may learn not only which day people are most productive, but also may draw conclusion about productivity among different careers and age groups. Now, second one is that identify your audience. Knowing who your audience is can help you choose how to present your data. Consider how the knowledgeable the audience is on your data topic. Here there is need to know your audience. If you know your audience, it will help that how you have to present, which type of the knowledge they have, and on that basis you can present your data. Now, for example, if you are presenting the data on the performance of the product to your team, they need less context than the group of investors and who may require background information on the product. Other important information is to know about your audience include their interest, problems, their experience, and how you can resolve these issues, their motivation for attending your presentation, and their general life experience. Understanding your audience help customize the presentation to them and increases its effectiveness. And you might also consider the reaction you desire from your audience when they view your data. Now, for example, if you want to convince them to support a cause, ensure your data reflects this purpose. And you can learn more about your audience by sending them surveys thread of your presentation with questions about their understanding of your data topic, and their motivation for learning more. So here there is need to know about your audience. If you know your audience, that means your audience, when audience can view your data. Sometimes again, uh, if you know your audience, that means it will help to gain some knowledge, and you can get the idea about their knowledge also. So on that basis you can present your data in front of the audience. Then after that, choose a presentation type. Review the types of presentation to determine if you are required to use the textual, tabular, or diagrammatic presentation. Here, here you have to choose the presentation type, and you have to need to decide which type of presentation you have to do. You have to use textual, tabular, or diagrammatic presentation. If you choose the diagrammatic presentation, that means you can also identify which type of the diagram fits with your data set. And then you have to determine which format is most appropriate for identifying what you are comparing with your data. For example, if you are comparing values of a small number of variable, pie chart accurately shows percentages and can reveal the volume. A bar graph can show more precise comparison of values. If you are presenting information where characteristics or time is variable, you might choose a table. You may use textual presentation when you want to provide more context for your data and explain your findings. Then next one is the label your data. When creating a diagram or table, ensure that it has labels to describe your information. Every time you have to use the label for your diagram and table. Include a title that describe what the table or diagram shows, then and create the table for variable that appears. Sometimes, such as pictogram or cartogram, may require a key to share the scale you use when representing the data. And for example, images on pictogram often represent a certain number also. So these labels provide clarity to viewers and can help you when presenting the data by helping you to focus on the main points. Now fifth one is that introduce your research. After creating a visual or text to share your data, create introduction that informs an audience about your data topic. Include how and why you gather this data to provide the context. Here you have to introduce about information. You have to inform to audience about your data topic, and here you have to include how and why you have gathered this data. And you might share your research question to preface what the data reveals. Consider the key takeaways from your data and be sure to introduce the ideas to your audience through a slide presentation or the speech. Now sixth one is that focus on main data points. You can determine the main data points by identifying how the data relate to each other. Now for example, if you take sample of how much time it takes different teams member to complete the task, and it is very important to know interval of the time and which team member is the quickest and who is the slowest or at completing the task. In this example, you may also examine factors that contribute to how long it takes to complete a task. Now identifying the main ideas of your data and research helps organize your presentation and communicate clearly with your audience about the significance of the information you gather. Then next one is the summarize. At the end of your presentation, summarize your data findings to ensure that your audience understands. So there is very important that your audience should understand whatever you have taught. You can also give time for the audience to ask the questions. By asking the questions, by asking the question from the audience. So it is very helpful for us to understand the audience. Then try to prepare answer by thoroughly understanding your research and collection of the data, and consider the questions about the impact of data has and actions the audience may take after seeing your presentation. Now next one is that the why, how, what strategy of presentation. When speaking on less formal level, that means the why, how and what strategy is quick and easy way to create the presentation worthy of praise. It is quite simple. First, tell your audience why this question is important without really getting into what you are actually doing. Then next one is that get into how you tackle this problem using data mining, data cleaning, hypothesis testing, and so on. Then finally tell them what your outcomes mean for the audience. So there are three strategy questions. Why are we here? What do we want to achieve? And how do we do business? Then first, why? Why is generally referred to as your purpose. What is your mission? Your mission statement or your raison d'etre. The very reason for your existence. Since why we are here, is fundamental question, and the answer is that very foundation for your company. It's not an easy task to find a wording that makes sense. This is probably why so many companies have mediocre and meaningless mission statement. Just to mention a few, delivering the difference to constantly improve what is essential to human progress by mastering science and technology, to provide a broad range of staffing services and the products. In the first, what difference are they talking about? Then, what does difference do and to whom? That's not the clear, and hence the statement is not really a mission. So in second, what purpose does constantly improving have? Then furthermore, what is essential to human progress and could probably be said about millions of the products and services. Now finally, amongst all the sciences and technology in the world, which are this company actually focusing on mastering? It's very typical example of a lot of fancy words put together without any substance or at all. And in the third, we are only told in very broad terms what the company does but not why they do it. Considering how important the why is for employees, customers and other stakeholders to understand your business, it is worth paying attention and allocating resources to the process of nailing exactly that mission statement makes it clear to everyone why you are here. Now there are simple guidelines for how to make strong why. It must uniquely tell why you are in the business. Then it must communicate to all relevant stakeholders. Then leave out the fancy words. Your why is not a slogan or the headlines for your next press release. Be specific and to be point. You must be able to decide and act based on your why. Then what? What you as company want to achieve and can be stated in elements such as it will consist vision, ambition, goals and objectives. Many corporate visions are in fact ambitions. Vision is altruistic and ambition is something that you do to your own benefit. For example, many companies have a vision to become the most preferred supplier. Besides being completely toothless, it's an ambition aimed at satisfying their own egos. So true vision is something that benefits the greater goods, something you want to achieve on behalf of others rather than for yourself. For example, Save Children's vision is world in which every child attains the right to survival, protection, development and participation. So there is nothing wrong in having an ambition rather than a vision. Actually, it only makes a sense for a few business to have a vision. Just don't call your ambition a vision. So goals and objective can be qualitative or quantitative and financial or non-financial. Now how? Let's the quote Batman. It's not who I'm underneath, but what I do that defines me. This goes for your company as well. You are defined by how you run your business. The by far largest challenge today is the need for robustness and flexibility. In order to make footprint in a competitive market, you must have very clear profile and differentiating you from the competitors. So here you have to build your building, so you have to think about the footprint, you have to think about the competitive market, you have to think about your competitors. So building a such profile takes years, then maintaining it requires the consistency. At the same time, you must be able to respond to opportunities and threats and other changes promptly and in line with your hard-earned profile. So to manage these double challenges, you need employees at all levels who contribute to developing a road as your company goes from A to B. So everyone in the organization must be able to decide and act independently but still in a clearly aligned manner. So to make decentralization possible, all decisions, actions, behavior must be in the line within the same framework. And this is where strategy comes into the play. In today's world, strategy is a clear framework for how to operate and develop the company. To serve this purpose, strategy can decide why, what, contain elements such as value or proposition, values, business guidelines or principles, then success factors, success criteria, then market focus or priority, customer focus priority, and products and services, then strategic assets, core competencies, competition parameters, KPI strategies, strategic moves and the development initiatives. So this is all about the what, why, how presentation strategies. These are the references. You can go through this. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.